Okay. Good, Nancy? All right. Good morning, everyone. The time is now 9 a.m. on Tuesday, March the 18th, 2025. I would like to call this Board of Works meeting to order. At this time, we will take no further bids unless you have them present with you in the audience. Nancy, will you take roll, please?
Thank you. All three members that are present at the moment are with us in the council chambers. Andy Jones,
Present.
Jamie Arcee,
Present.
Ron Davis.
Present.
We have Rose Rivera is not quite here yet. And I see Mike Macklin's online, but I believe he's not participating as a voting member this morning. So we are a quorum. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Nancy. I'll entertain. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor of the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Are there any, I think we have any amendments, correct, Nancy? All right. All right, perfect. Next up would be opening of bids for bid number 25-11, the Lerner Theater roof replacement. I have been provided proof of publication in the Elkhart Truth for bid number 25-11, the City of Elkhart Lerner Theater North Roof Replacement, appearing on March the 1st and March the 8th, 2025. All right. First up is from Borntrager. Yep. Well, is it? It suggests Born, B-O-R-N, Borntrager Enterprises Incorporated from Goshen, Indiana. They have a certified bid summary form identifying all items. Their base bid is $298,241, and their alternate number one is $278,823. Thank you, Andy. Next, we have a certified bid summary form from Hoekstra Roofing Company located in Kalamazoo, Michigan. They have identified all items on the certified bid summary form. Their base bid is $802,535, and their bid for alternate number one is $790,755. Our final bid packet is from Slay Tile Roofing and Sheet Metal Company Incorporated from South Bend, Indiana. They have acknowledged all items on the certified bid summary form with a base bid of $649,812, with alternate one of $640,812. I'll entertain a motion to assign these to staff for awarding at the May 6, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor of awarding to staff and awarding at the May 6th meeting signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the claimants and allowance docket in the amount of $7,683,415.51, consisting of 44 pages, printed on March the 12th, 2025 at 9:16 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Discussion, Ms. Coons.
Good morning, Erin Coons, Deputy Controller. I wanted to note that the docket might look a little bit different moving forward. Instead of just fund summaries, we're including account line summaries. So it's grouped by fund, then grouped again by account line.
Great.
That'll be that way moving forward. Just to add more detail. For this docket, we have our subsidy funding totaling $2,712,500. And then we have our transfer to capital outlay for $500,000 per ordinance 5640. And then our total American Rescue Plan claims are $13,124.22.
Thank you. Board, any questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the claims and allowance docket in the amount of $7,683,415.51 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of March the 4th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion or amendments? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the regular meeting minutes for March the 4th, 2025, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Administration for Engineering, Board of Works Resolution 25R-06. I'll entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 25-R-06, the City of Elkhart Board of Public Works adopting the preliminary engineering report and can I get a motion
So moved.
and a second? Tori.
Morning, Board. Tori Irwin. So at the last meeting, we had a public hearing on the preliminary engineering report. There's 5 days of public comment. We received no negative comments, only the one supportive comment during the public hearing. So as a part of the process, we ask that you adopt the PER acceptance resolution.
Perfect. And then what are the next steps after the adoption of PER?
Next steps in terms
Of like what happens after
we
this?
submit the PER to IFA. They review the PER, rank the PER with all the other PERs they respond, determine which of the rankings receive funding, and then we move forward from there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions, Board? No. All right, all those in favor of approving, adopting Resolution 25-R-06 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to authorize the board vice president to execute the on-call professional services agreement with DLZ Indiana.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jeff.
Jeff Schaefer, Assistant City Engineer. This is an agreement that we've had from time to time with DLZ for small services. It's also being signed by the Redevelopment Commission should they choose to fund work by DLZ. These are for small professional services contracts, usually in the range of, say, $20,000, that sort of thing. So anything of significant size would still come back to the board as a full contract.
Okay. I notice in the memo that that a scope of work will be prepared as part of that process. Will that scope of work just be considered to be contained under this master agreement, or will the board need to ratify in some cases that, that scope of?
The scope of work is usually handled at the staff level.
Okay.
The scope of work and the fees. So, for example, we have a similar agreement with Abbenmarsh to do surveying work. And so when we need survey work, they submit a scope of work to us and a proposed fee, whether it's a not to exceed or a fee schedule. And then that's signed by both Abbenmarsh and by the staff.
Okay.
So that is handled at the staff level.
Great, thank you for clarifying. Board, any other questions?
No.
Mike, I'll just wait for your indication if you want to chime in as a member. Otherwise, we'll continue rolling forward. All right. All of those in favor of authorizing the board vice president to execute the on-call professional services agreement with DLZ Indiana signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Can I get a motion to award bid number 25-06, the 2025 ADA-funded curb ramp replacement project to TX Concrete LLC, who submitted the lowest responsive bid with a contract price in the amount of $242,200.
And so moved.
Second.
A motion, a second.
Board, of the one thing I would note on this, our as-read low bidder, which was Almac Soda Beer, withdrew their bid, which doesn't happen very often, but is within their right to withdraw a bid prior to the award. In this particular situation, they had made a math error, and so unfortunately there's no method to correct that error. We have to withdraw the bid, and so that's what they chose to do. And so we are asking you to award this to the next lowest responsive bid.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. Otherwise, the bids came in close to what we may have been estimating, or?
We're in good shape financially on this project.
Perfect. And this will be a full construction season project for both this and the resurfacing that's next, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Perfect. All right, board, any other questions? All right, all those in favor of awarding bid number 25-06, the 2025 ADA funded curb ramp replacement project to TX Concrete LLC in the amount of $242,200 signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Can I get a motion to award bid number 25-07, the 2025 Street Department Resurfacing Curb Ramp Replacement Project to Almac Soda Beer Incorporated, who submitted the lowest responsive bid with a contract price in the amount of $307,737.11.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, a second.
Board, again, there was a minor mathematical error on the bid as read. In this case, it was less than $100. So Almac Soda Beer kept their bid in place. They're still obviously the apparent low bid, even with that minor mathematical error. So while we're noting that error, it did not in any way affect the bidding process.
Okay, thank you. All right, board, any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of awarding bid number 25-07, the 2025 Street Department Resurfacing Curb Ramp Replacement Project to Almac Soda Beer in the amount of $307,737.11 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next up, I'll entertain a motion to appoint Tori Irwin, Jeff Schaefer, and Zachary, I hope I don't butcher this, Flagel, as the Technical Review Committee for the Street Department Design Build SALT Salt Facility Project.
So moved.
Motion, second.
First of all, I blame Mr. Irwin for the acronym.
Very fitting, though.
Yes. Just to give the board a little bit of background on the design build process as put in place by the state of Indiana. It's a little bit of a unique project delivery process, and this is a unique project that we'd like to move pretty quickly on. Also, a structure such as this doesn't require a huge design effort, so the idea of taking the design work and putting it under the contractor makes a lot of sense. Lastly, the state statute really allows us to design to a budget. So we can kind of plan on a budget here and design this facility with the contractor putting their pricing together at the same time to that budget. So this becomes a qualification-based selection process. What the statute requires is that the public agency appoint what they call a technical review committee. We already have technical review committees for other things, but a technical review committee specifically for this project. And there's some pretty specific requirements of who can be on that committee. Has to be 3 members. Of the 3 members, you have to have 2 among a registered professional engineer, a contractor as defined by the state, which is someone who bids on public work projects, or a registered architect. So you have to have 2 among those 3, among your 3-member board, and then a representative of the city. In discussing with the mayor, with the street commissioner, who is here today if you have questions, Mr. Irwin obviously makes sense as a representative of the city. I happen to be a professional engineer. We don't have a lot of architects running around. And contractors, while Mr. Zooks is more than capable as a contractor, he does not meet the definition because he doesn't bid on public works projects. So it made sense to reach out to our friends at DLZ and ask them if one of their architects would be willing to serve, and Zachary is willing to serve. By doing so, DLZ will not be involved in any other part of this project. So they cannot be part of the design build teams. They're not a contractor anyway, so that's not a big deal. But under the statute, they cannot be part of the design build team. What this technical review committee does is reviews the qualification and proposal packages. And I'll explain how those work under the next item, but then brings a recommended design build contractor back to the Board of Public Works to contract under. So that's really the biggest task for the technical review committee. Informally, the technical review committee can then continue on in the project, reviewing the design, that sort of thing, and continuing managing the projects on behalf of the city. Obviously, the street commissioner is going to be very involved in that as well. But the only formal task for the technical review committee is to accept the proposals, review them, and then make a recommendation to the Board of Works. Any meeting of the technical review committee does have to be open to the public. And the request for qualifications is publicly noticed. So this is all done in the public. And again, I'll explain under the next item that process. But the first step in any design build project is to appoint this technical review committee.
Perfect, Jeff. And the design build method that we're choosing is an alternate to the standard public works statute for how we would build this, correct?
That's correct. Most of our projects are what we call design bid build, and that's what you often see. We bring you a set of plans that have been prepared, whether in-house or by a consultant. You approve those plans, then we go out for bid. Here, we're up against some time constraints, and we honestly feel, again, with this particular project, the design build process makes a lot of sense. We could do this building a few different ways. Rather than guessing a design and asking for bids on it when maybe there was an alternate design that would have made a lot more sense, we can put those two together. This is something that me personally, I've done in the public sector, my short time with the state, so I'm familiar with this process personally, and of course it's widely used in the private sector. The public agencies, I think, have started to use it a lot more in the last 5 or 6 years, and so I believe it's something we'll be using more in the future from time to time. I don't think we intend to adopt this for all our projects moving forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. And at the end of the day, we're looking at how we are best valuing or the construction of the project to align with what our true needs are and what the cost to taxpayers is going to end up being. So it allows us to refine as we need to get the most bang for our buck for all intents and purposes. All right.
Very
Perfect.
good.
I have no other questions. Board, do you have any questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of appointing Tori Irwin, Jeff Schaefer, and Zachary Flagel as the Technical Review Committee for the Street Department Design Build Salt Facility Project, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve the request for qualifications and proposals and the design criteria package for the Street Department Design Build Salt Facility Project.
So moved.
Motion
Yeah.
and a second. Jeff.
So yeah, as I stated during the last item, this is the first step of the design build process. So we are publicly advertising a request for qualifications and proposals, and that will be reviewed by the Technical Review Committee. The way these proposals work is the design build contractor or team, they actually prepare their proposals and then also do a price or a cost proposal which sealed. And so the Technical Review Committee looks at early design ideas, looks at the qualifications of the team as both designers and contractors, and selects the one that is the best qualified to do the work. And at that time, then that sealed price proposal is open to confirm that the proposed fees are within the budget. And then that's what's brought. The rest of them remain sealed unless when opening that first sealed one, it's not anywhere within our budget, then we move on to the next qualified. So that's how it's done as a two-step. So the contractors bring both their qualifications and their price. They're selected by qualifications, and then we look at their price to make sure they're within that budget. Our request for qualifications package is going to include our budget, so we kind of show the work. If you decide to give us a price proposal that's beyond that budget, that's at your own detriment. But that's the way it's done. And again, I did a couple of these projects when I was with the state, and they worked very successfully. We were able to pick qualified contractors and then had pricings well within our budget. So we expect the same thing here.
Great. It sounds like a really clean process. I have a couple questions. The first is regarding the selection process. Is there a known grading scale on how we're selecting the contractor like we would in other RFPs that everybody is aware on the front end as to how we're determining qualifications?
There is. We will, in the document that goes out the door, there'll be a score sheet, and it's the same score sheet we'll use. The document that's in front of you today, and I apologize, it just came to you today, that does include kind of the percentage of the ranking of how we'll value those score sheets. So we'll rank each of the contractors on 6 or 7 different items between 1 and 5 or 1 and 10, and then multiply those rankings by the percentage to get a final ranking. So yes, it will all be done numerically.
Perfect. And then my other question was regarding the open meeting component. Will these follow or need to follow the 48-hour notice rules that we tend to have to follow for all of our other public meetings? And and will those, I guess those meetings are likely to be held in Public Works or
Yeah.
at the utility?
The statute is a little bit silent on that. The meeting has to be open, and the only part of the meeting that's open is just the reading of who brought proposals in. And I'll make sure with Ms. Marnoga that if there's any posting that we're done properly prior to the meeting.
Perfect. All right. I don't have any questions. More? Well, Andy, Ron, Mike, do you have anything? Okay, he's not on? Okay. All right, perfect. All right, hearing no other comments from the board, all those in favor of approving the request for qualifications and proposals in the design criteria package for the street department design build salt facility project signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the revocable right-of-way permit for perpendicular parking in Ellison Street for La Los de Cristo El Mundo Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
Board, this comes to you as a condition of approval for a special exception that was granted by the BZA. And also, as you know, from a staff perspective, these perpendicular parking in the right-of-way, we've tried to bring them to the board rather than do them as a staff approval, just because we think they each are a little bit of a unique situation. So this is a place of worship that was recently approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals at the southeast corner of Elliston in Indiana. So the Board of Zoning, and as the Board of Zoning and Appeals reviewed it, they understood that the parking was going to be perpendicular in the right-of-way. There's some history there of parking in the right-of-way with this building. Elliston Street is a dead-end street south of Indiana. So the staff very much supports this application and believes you should concur with the BZA's approval.
And is there an expiration that we'll have to, will the board need to take future action to continue to allow for this? Or is this,
That's an interesting question. You could, the special exception, I believe, is good for 24 months. But don't, you know what, I don't want to
so
state
if we have to take additional action, you'll bring it back to us?
Yes, let's
Otherwise,
do it that way.
We'll presume that this is
In
good until we
perpetuity.
tell it it's not.
Yep, I think that's safer. Yep.
Okay, great. Andy, any questions, Ron? All right, hearing no questions, all those in favor of approving the revocable right-of-way permit for the perpendicular parking in Ellison Street for La Los de Cristo El Mundo Incorporated signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to utility. I'll entertain a motion to ratify the partial payment request number 1 in the amount of $611,980 to Selge Construction from the SRF loan WW241820006 for construction on the Oakland Project B Oakland CSO Tank Project.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
a second. Standard stuff.
Standard stuff. Jason Simnick, Public Works. Yeah, this is the first pay app. It's mostly covering a lot of their mobilization costs and some equipment that they have purchased and shown that they have on site. So, yeah, it's the first of many monthly pay apps.
Great. So far, so good, though, on the,
Oh, yeah,
on the
yeah,
start?
yeah. They've started doing excavation for the wet well and for the tank itself. And they're planning on having those worked on concurrently, so.
Great. All right. Board, any questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of ratifying partial payment request number 1 in the amount of $611,980 to Selge Construction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to ratify the final payment request from SRF number 80 from the SRF loan WW182620004 in the amount of $255,799 to Boeing Engineering Corporation from the allocated SRF loan for construction on the Elkhart wastewater treatment plant capacity upgrades Phase 2 project.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, this is the final pay app. Last meeting, we approved the change order, and then this is the pay app for finishing it off.
Great, and so then we'll be done,
Done, yes.
and ribbon cutting next week, right?
I believe so.
Perfect. All right, board, any questions?
That was done during the change order.
Perfect, thank you though, Nancy. Yep. All those in favor of ratifying the final payment request for SRF number 80 from the SRF loan WW182620005 in the amount of $255,799 to Bowen Engineering Corporation, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to accept and place on file the water utility monthly report of operations for the month of February 2025.
So moved.
Motion a second.
Laura in Public Works, Laura Colo could not be here today. She's in the office resolving some issues. But this is a standard MRO. There were no incidents, nothing of note, so.
Great, thank you for filling in, Tori. Board, do you have any questions that Tori can take back to Laura? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of accepting and placing on file the water utility monthly report of operations for the month of February 2025, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to find Yellow Dog permit number 2012-01 in violation of their industrial wastewater discharge permit for failure to conduct required self-monitoring and assign a penalty of $100.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, a second, discussion. Steve?
Morning, Board. Steve Brown, Public Works and Utilities. What we have is Yellow Dog. They submitted their self-monitoring report for the second half of 2024. And we realized within the report that there are certain parameters that had been analyzed outside of the hold time. So we did contact them and let them know that they can resample within the monitoring period to hopefully stay in compliance. They resampled and they missed the whole time again. So we're recommending a $100 penalty for this offense.
So when you're referencing hold time, correct? What does that mean?
That means there are certain pollutants that need to be analyzed. Some pollutants have preservations to keep them within a certain hold time so they can be analyzed. But if the sample is analyzed outside of the hold time, it's an invalid sample. Hopefully that-
Yeah, so kind of it goes stale or it expires and is no longer as efficacious as it would have been.
That's correct.
Within the defined parameters. Makes sense. Board, do you have any questions for Steve? Is there a representative from Yellow Dog either in the office or either in the chambers here or online? Okay, so it appears that only staff are present online. Seeing that no one's here to discuss it and the board has no questions, further questions, I guess. All those in favor of finding Yellow Dog permit number 2012-01 in violation of their industrial wastewater discharge permit and assigning a penalty of $100 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to find the Elkhart Environmental Processing permit number 2002-02 in violation of the sewer use ordinance for failing to respond to notice of violation by the due date and assign a penalty of $250.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second? Steve?
Yes, Elkhart Environmental Processing had a notice of violation for failure to conduct required self-monitoring. And this NOV, it had a response due date for the 14th. Pretreatment staff did not receive Elkhart Environmental Processing's response until the 21st. So there's, the enforcement response plans recommends a penalty of $250.
And this is essentially an administrative issue and not a otherwise, correct?
That's correct.
All right, board, any questions? Anyone from Elkhart Environmental Processing in the audience that would like to respond? All right, seeing no one. All those in favor of finding Elkhart Environmental Processing permit number 2002-02 in violation of the sewer use ordinance and assigning a penalty of $250 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to find Lippert Components permit number 98-03 in violation of the sewer use ordinance for failing to submit self-monitoring report by the due date, resulting in a significant non-compliance. The enforcement response plan does not specify a fine for significant non-compliance. However, the pretreatment manager recommends a penalty of $500. Can I get a motion to that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second. Steve?
Yep, Lippert 72, Lippert Components, plant number 72, they submitted their self-monitoring report 65 days late, and as a result, they triggered significant non-compliance. Looking at the enforcement response plan, there is no specific penalty for significant non-compliance. Recommendation for the $500 penalty, I came up with that because for failure to submit a self-monitoring report by the deadline is a $250 penalty. Since this is significant non-compliance, we have to do additional work with publication in the Elkhart Truth. So there's a little bit more legwork for pretreatment staff to resolve this issue. So that's how I came up with the $500 penalty.
It seems reasonable. I assume that was discussed internally and agreed upon, and that will apply the same methodology in the future if we have other similar situations.
Yes, legal has reviewed this memo, and in the future, I think we're going to also revise our enforcement response plan to address this issue in the future.
Great. That makes a lot of sense, and I would support that addition to help clarify. Board, any other questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of finding Lippert Components permit number 98-03 in violation of the sewer use ordinance and for being in significant non-compliance in assessing a penalty of $500 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. I'll entertain a motion to ratify, right, Nancy, on these assessments, to ratify 1, 2, 3, 4 water assessments, 5 sewer assessments, and 2 revocable permits.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor of ratifying permits as read into the record signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 25-R-04, a resolution to dispose of surplus property. Motion?
So
So,
moved.
Motion,
second?
Second. All right. Who's speaking on this? Chief Dale?
Morning, everybody. I'm sorry, I was in a little bit of a daze. I got a little bit of a scratchy voice. It's all the Dayquil I've taken today. Yeah, we request to approve to advertise for sale of our heavy rescue unit.
So this is are we taking 2 actions? I think one is to declare it as disposal, and then the next will be to authorize the bidding. I think we can, if you want to talk about it all in one, that's probably sufficient. So we have a piece of fire equipment that no longer aligns with the operational needs of the department. Is that
Correct.
essentially
Yes.
what
We're going
it
to
is?
purchase an apparatus a little bit down the line that'll kind of make up for this, and we've made some adjustments to what we have already to cover for this while we're in between apparatus.
Great. So we won't be without necessary service or
Not at all.
unable to provide appropriate relief to other departments that have relied on us having this piece of equipment.
Not at all.
And,
Not at all.
and so we'll be able to operate as normal and then get right-sized to what the needs of the department are currently.
Yes, yep, correct.
Perfect. Any questions, board?
No.
And I guess I'd clarify for the board's perspective that, the Board of Public Works is being asked to take action instead of the Board of Public Safety because the board had taken the action associated with the purchase. And so we're trying to make sure that we're aligning those requests with the board that had taken the action to buy it. Anyways, all those in favor of adopting Resolution 25-R-04 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve the advertisement of bid number 25-12 for the sale of the heavy rescue apparatus and its associated bid documents. Motion.
Second.
Second. So, Chief Dale, is this just us authorizing the advertisement and publication of the bid specs that the board will then receive in the future?
Okay.
What I'm assuming is happening here. Any questions, board? All right. All those in favor of approving the request to advertise bid number 25-12 for the sale of the heavy rescue apparatus signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief. All righty, next up, awarding a bid 25-09. I'll entertain a motion to award bid number 25-09, the 2025 police unit bid to Jordan Ford as they were the lowest responsible bidding party with a breakdown by unit type of standard type non-police Explorer for 2 at $87,088, 3 CID type non-pursuit Interceptors for $142,908, and 12 police pursuit Interceptors for $619,008.
So moved.
Motion, second. All right, Josh.
Good morning, Board. This is just for the bids that we received last meeting. It's just to award it.
I think my only question is, in your memo, you note that this includes the upfitting for everything. Will Jordan be taking on the responsibility of doing the upfitting as part of the award, or will we be outsourcing that to another entity?
The upfitting will be outsourced. That is for the police department to handle the official upfitting. Those are for our upfitting parts. We always get extra filters, tires, and just extra service items.
Got it. So that's what that upfitting
Correct.
refers to, and not the lights and sirens.
Yeah, no, I don't
and some of
handle any of
that other stuff.
Yeah.
Got it. And all right. Any other questions, Board?
No.
All right, all those in favor of awarding bid number 25-09, the 2025 police unit bid to Jordan Ford, as read into the record, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to award bid number 25-10, the 2025 Elkhart City Light Duty Truck bid to Jordan Ford.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second. Same thing here, Josh.
Same thing, yeah.
Did the prices come in kind of close to estimate as to what we were thinking at budget time, or?
Honestly, they came in a little under what I was thinking due to the price increases of the last just 2 or 3 years. I expected them to be more, but I was kind of surprised, honestly.
Great. Will we have any delays in taking delivery of either of these? Pretty readily available now. We don't have the same supply issues that we had during the pandemic.
Thankfully, that time period seems to be over. I'm not going to say completely, but yeah, it is quite easier for us to get things. They are building them,
It's great.
or will be built. Sorry.
Perfect. Any other questions, Board? All right, all those in favor of awarding bid number 25-10, the 2025 Elkhart City Light Duty Truck bid to Jordan Ford, as identified on the memo from Josh Holt, City of Elkhart Fleet Manager, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thanks, Josh. I'll entertain a motion to approve Board of Works Resolution 2025-R-05, a resolution to dispose of surplus property.
So moved.
Second.
And the agreement between the City of Elkhart and Elkhart City Church Incorporated.
So moved.
Motion, second from Ron. Jameson.
Good morning. Jameson Zarnecki, Elkhart City Parks and Recreation Superintendent. Before you, we're asking approval for the surplus, as you read, the resolution for it, and then also the MOU for us to transfer the property over to the, sell the property over to Elkhart City Church for $1. They understand that the equipment has to be taken out by them, that they have the sole responsibility and liability moving forward from the equipment. They were the only ones who were able to get us an answer and agreement that they can do it by the time that it was needed to happen for these equipment, for these playgrounds to come out. We have a few that we're replacing, which for our purposes and best practices, liability dictates they're 30-year-old playgrounds. Some are rusted through. A lot of them are in bad condition. They need to go out. But if people want to reinvest in them or work on them, our belief is that we can keep them out of the landfill, which was the premise for this. I reached out to the people who had contacted us in years past to say, hey, I know that you guys had reached out to us asking about any playgrounds. And that's the list that you guys have seen of everybody that's contacted us. I think we as a city, I as a superintendent, have not seen a lot of this here in the city of Elkhart, so we want to pilot it to see, let's start with a few and try this, and then as we work towards CAPRA, which is the national accreditation policy for best management practices, we'll have a policy in place that allows us to say, hey, this is how we do these, and moving forward, we'll probably do it a little bit differently, but this is how we did it for this time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that clarification and that explanation. I think it's also nice to see that we're trying to reuse these pieces of equipment and find them homes that aren't going to maybe need the same amount of continual use that they would have been seeing at the park that they're being removed from, and also for the public's perspective, I guess the reason that we're able to follow this method versus having to do what we did with the fire piece of fire apparatus is the salvage value of the equipment, right? That we're
Correct,
below a minimum threshold of $1,000 defined by statute that allows for us to be more flexible in how we're disposing of it. And so I'm glad we were able to find a home and support it. I guess my only question, this may be one more for legal, as to why the Board of Works is handling the disposal and not the park board.
My understanding when we spoke about that was because the asset disposal is the primary reason. So instead of going to both boards, just doing one, I think was the understanding.
All right, cool.
That's what I spoke to Rose about.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, all right. No, I think we've had, Rose was involved in that, and since Rose is absent, we're unable to. And so if there's, we'll talk internally about better clarification if we need to. So, and I assume the board, your park board is generally on board and in favor of this action.
I have a question. How are you, Jamie, who's inspecting this equipment to make sure that it's not, something's not rusted through, or, 30 years, that's a long time. My concern, it sounds like Rose has looked over the liability agreement, but that's fine that the city's not liable, but the important thing is that no kid gets injured, How do we know, who's looking at this to make sure it's still stable?
Sure. So, the absolute answer is that, one can never guarantee anything, which is why I think we choose to try and say to people that if they want this, they need to be really sure. Our equipment, even the old ones, are safe. We know that because we've got people who are certified playground safety inspectors, accredited by the National Recs and Park Association. So we have trained people who go in to make sure that our playgrounds are safe. So the day that we transfer it to somebody or the day that we sell it to somebody, we can say that this is safe, but how long and what's the investment that we want our taxpayers to give to this, right? Playgrounds are expensive, and so it might be safe, but let's say something breaks or it's vandalized, well, then that part's not available. And then if that part's not available, then you have to put a piece of wood up on the playground until you can. So it looks tacky, it's unusable. So it's not a good practice for us to continuing over so many years to continuing to try and keep these alive. But that doesn't make them unsafe.
One thought I had would be if somehow that agreement might state that the entity getting this equipment would need to have that same entity inspect it after it's reassembled at their expense.
I don't know if it would make sense for us to require that on them, or so much just to say, you really should, and, do your own research and have your own inspectors come out to ensure the quality, to have a structural engineer come out and say, yep, this looks good. But that's not something that I would say that I'd want to mandate or require somebody to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that the entity that's taking on the equipment would bear the responsibility to make sure that what they're getting is going to be usable. They may find after they get it on site and start assembling it that they don't want to move forward with it, and the dollar that they spent on it is they're out very limitedly. While I agree with Andy's position on making sure that everybody is safe, I also can see where that responsibility should lie solely on the entity that's taking over the ownership of the equipment, and that are on the presumption that our legal team has taken and created the right amount of indemnity for the city, that we should be good.
I agree with that. I would maybe there could be some language just strongly recommending that they have that third party.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, you're on a board, hey, it sounds good, we could use this playground equipment over at the also Little League. If you're not qualified to know whether or not it's safe once it's been reassembled by whomever, their handyman or whatever, it'd just be good to have somebody like that inspected to be
We
sure.
connected them with the playground representative that we are purchasing the new equipment from, so that they can ask them any questions and build that
That'd be good.
relationship for those reasons. So
Yeah.
they're already connected and they've already spoken, so some of that work was done.
Good.
Great. All right.
Thanks, Jameson.
Yeah, thank
Good
you.
questions, Andy. All right, if the board has no other questions, then, Andy, are you comfortable?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, all those in favor of adopting Board of Works Resolution 25-R-05 and approving the agreement between the City of Elkhart and the Elkhart City Church Incorporated, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to accept and place on file the Uniform Conflict of Interest Disclosure Statement from James Rickoff.
So moved.
Motion, a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Use and event permits. I'll entertain a motion to approve the following use and event permits. Earth Day, April 26th. Hoosier Harley Bike Nights, April the 11th, May the 9th, June the 13th, July the 11th, and September the 7th. Curbside Fridays on May 16th, 23rd, 30th, June 6, 13, 20, 21, 27, August 29th, and September 5th, 12th, and the 19th. Junk in the Trunk on June the 8th. Pollinator Promenade on July the 12th. EnviroFest on August the 8th. Wagon in the Woods on September the 28th, and Haunted Walk Through the Woods on October 23rd, 24th, and 25th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting the use and event permits as read into the record signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Public participation. Now's the time in the meeting in which we allow for the participation from the public, either online or in the office, not the office, in the chambers. If there's anybody going once, twice, nobody, all right. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
the one you gotta sign, and these are the one you